Hello on day 4 of quarantine. I landed on Monday. This is Friday. It's considered day 4. And it's a gray-ish day out there. It's rained a couple times this morning. I will show you the view at the end of this video. Today I thought I would tell you about healthcare professionals and COVID testing and what happens here in quarantine. So as I mentioned in my previous video, when we landed at the airport, we had our temperature taken and all the standard questions on COVID symptoms before being brought to the hotel. Since arriving, I have had daily phone calls. So every day I get a phone call from a nurse to check my symptoms, and I get a phone call from either a mental health nurse or a psychologist to make sure that I'm okay. Now, I don't have to have daily calls from mental health. I agreed to them. There are a lot of people in this hotel who are in a similar situation to me, who are grieving the loss of a loved one, and they just provide a little bit of counseling, whatever they can do over the phone, which is, to me, better than nothing. So I take the calls. We don't always chat about much other than movies and books that I'm reading or watching. But then we have mandatory COVID tests on day 2 and day 10. So day 2 was Wednesday for me, 2 days ago, and I had the test. So the Australia test was different than the test I had in Canada. In Canada, they put the swab way up one nostril, felt like a very long way up, and counted to 10. So it was 10 seconds that they sat there swabbing the interior regions of my nasal cavity. Here in Australia, the test was done differently. They just took a swab near the back of my tongue and one up each nostril, all with the same swab, and put it in, but it was only like 1 second or half a second each, so they were short. I'm sure that they both come up with equally good results. It was just interesting to see that there was a difference in the way the tests were taken in the 2 different countries. So the test was taken Wednesday, and they basically said, if you don't hear from us, consider it negative. I was just talking to the mental health nurse, and she looked up my results for me just to check, because I have had a little bit of a scratchy throat. And indeed, my test is negative, so no issues there. I will have one more test taken in a week's time. In the meantime, I continue to get daily calls, and then on my last day before departure, so on the 27th of December, there will be a nurse that comes to the door that goes through all the questions, probably takes my temperature, and gives me a medical certificate that is required to check out on the 28th of December. So there is a lot of support. The healthcare professionals have been great on the phone. I sort of explained my situation, and they did just sort of say, look, there's a lot of people in quarantine that the reason for travel is due to compassionate reasons. And so, there's not a lot of people traveling, and a lot of them are for very serious and personal reasons that they are doing a really good job of making sure that we are okay on our own here in quarantine. So I think that that's actually a really good thing that they are doing here. And in the meantime, I'm probably safer here in isolation in my hotel room, as the Northern Beaches, not too far from where I live in Sydney, has had a cluster outbreak that started on Sunday, and they're up to, I think, 22 or 23 cases already after just 2 days, and have opened up multiple testing centers and have asked everyone in that area to stay at home for the next 3 days while they get on top of the contact tracing. The nice thing is they had done sewage testing less than a week earlier that had shown no hints of the virus in the sewage in that area, so they think it's a relatively new introduction into the neighborhood. They got on top of it really quickly. They're doing this lockdown, semi-lockdown, so that they can get on top of that contact tracing as quickly as possible. So they seem pretty confident they will be able to control the cluster. Fingers crossed, because Sydney was doing really well, except for one case 2 weeks ago. There really hadn't been a case in a month, and so everyone's getting a lot more cautious. Apparently people are all wearing their masks back on public transit again, much more today, just after after the outbreak that really got known yesterday. So that's what's happening outside my hotel room. I'm safe and sound here, not contracting any COVID from anybody else, assuming that I don't have it now. And that's it. Tomorrow I'll tell you all about meals, and then just, as my regular day goes, I will show you the view of the harbor today. So it is a little bit grayer out there today. Hopefully you can see that. It's hard for me to, yeah, there we go. A little bit grayer out there today. Interesting clouds. You can watch the rain come across the harbor when it does come. And it does actually seem a little quieter on the streets. So just with that one little cluster, I think more people have decided to stay home today. However, the people building the building across the street are still building. I'll talk to you tomorrow.